Welcome to the Haunted Therapist podcast, everybody. I'm Brett, your haunted therapist. Before we go any further, I just want to be really clear about something right up front, because especially when we're talking about things that are unknown, unseen, I've never witnessed or even sensed what people think of or what we talk about as alien activity. So no little gray creatures or green, no abductions, no contact experiences. Speaking of contact, that was definitely the movie. I saw that when I was a teenager, Contact with Jodie Foster. That movie changed me, I swear. It's one of those top 5 movies that you think of that like changed you. That thing blew my mind, especially the ending. But what I have done for years now, probably since that movie, is sit with a much bigger question. What if some of the things we call ghosts didn't used to be people at all? What if there's something else entirely, something non-human, something intergalactic, planetary, interdimensional, something operating in a different layer of reality that occasionally bleeds into ours? So that's what today's episode is about, and maybe a little Star Wars too, obviously, always. So if you spend any time in paranormal spaces, so ghost hunts, investigations, even TikTok and YouTube, you'll notice something interesting. So the footage usually looks the same, similar. We're catching orbs, shadow figures, lights that seem to move intelligently, voices with no clear source. But the interpretation of that data does change depending on the community or who's doing the investigating. So paranormal folks will say that was a spirit. UFO folks say that was a non-human intelligence. Scientists say unknown aerial phenomenon. And honestly, they might all be describing the same thing, just through different lenses. And this isn't new. Humans have always tried to explain the unexplainable using the language available to them at the time. If you go far back enough in history, people weren't reporting aliens. They were reporting angels, demons, fairies even, shadow beings, watchers. And fast forward to the mid 20th century, and suddenly the language shifts. We have flying saucers, the grays, beings from other worlds. Again, same phenomenon, just updated vocabulary. As a therapist, this part fascinates me because the human brain is a meaning-making machine. We don't experience reality objectively at all. We experience it through story. This is where my personal belief system comes in. I don't believe reality is as simple as alive here, unalive there, and empty space everywhere else. I lean much more towards a multiverse model. Multiple realms, multiple layers, all existing simultaneously, and not even neatly stacked, but overlapping and bleeding through at times. And if that's true, then what we experience as ghosts could be consciousness from other realms, beings not bound by linear time, energy interacting with us temporarily. This also naturally folds in the time-space continuum. What if some hauntings are not passed away folks or repeating trauma, but moments in time looping or intersecting? The theory of the Mobius, time becomes a loop. One of my favorite songs by Orbital, by the way. If you know, you know. Orbital EDM music from the 90s. Residual hauntings suddenly make a lot more sense that way, I think. And this is where pop culture becomes surprisingly insightful. So let's start with Star Wars. The Force isn't ghosts, except for the Force ghosts, but that's different. It isn't aliens. It's an energy field that binds everything together. Living beings can tap into it. Some are more sensitive than others. Some can interact across time and space. And that concept is very aligned with modern theories of consciousness. Stranger Things, the upside down isn't outer space. It's a parallel dimension. And what's fascinating is that the show was inspired by real U.S. government experiments, specifically Cold War era research into psychic abilities, remote viewing, consciousness, manipulation, altered states. Programs like MK Ultra and Project Stargate weren't science fiction. They were real. The show simply asked, what if they worked? Now, let's ground this in modern reality. In recent years, the US government has publicly acknowledged UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon, including the now famous Tic Tac object, no visible propulsion, instant acceleration, movement that defies known physics. What's interesting isn't that it exists. It's that officials have said, we don't know what it is. They didn't say it's aliens. They didn't say it's foreign tech, just unknown. And that phrase shows up constantly in paranormal investigations. Unknown, unidentified, unexplained. Here's the grounding truth. Ghost beliefs and alien theories tap into the same psychological need, meaning connection, not being alone. If ghosts exist, death isn't the end. Huge weight off our shoulders there. If non-human intelligences exist, humanity isn't isolated. Both ideas are strangely comforting. In therapy, I see this all the time. People don't fear the unknown as much as they fear emptiness, and mystery gives us something to hold on to. And curiosity is actually regulating to the nervous system. And I talk about that a lot, actually. And here's my take. I don't think any of this is simple. I don't believe every haunting is a person that passed away. I don't believe every unexplained light is extraterrestrial. I think some phenomenon exist outside our categories that we even have, and forcing them into boxes is probably limiting our understanding. So what if the question isn't ghosts v aliens, but what kinds of consciousness can exist? And a few grounding reminders if this topic excites you or unsettles you. You don't need to believe anything to explore ideas. Curiosity doesn't mean vulnerability. You're allowed to say, I don't know. As a therapist, I care less about labels, diagnoses, and more about how these beliefs impact your well-being. If mystery inspires awe, beautiful. If it causes fear, we slow down, we unpack. I don't have any answers today, and honestly, I don't think we're meant to. But I do believe we're living in a far more complex, layered reality than we were ever taught. And sometimes the things that haunt us aren't here to scare us. I say that all the time. They're here to remind us that reality is way bigger than we think. I'd love to hear where you land. Ghosts, aliens, interdimensional, or somewhere in between. Leave a comment on my YouTube or DM me at Haunted Therapist. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, and share. It really helps this conversation reach curious minds like yours. Until next time, haunted hearts, stay curious, stay grounded, and as always, stay haunted.